Today, I'd like to share why it's important we pay attention to substance use in adolescence during and following treatment for depression. Young people can be grouped in different ways based on how their substance use changes over time. This has been shown in community studies. For example, here's alcohol use, and lots of other studies have looked at not only alcohol use, but smoking and other illegal substances. But no studies have looked at latent substance use groups during treatment for adolescent depression. The IMPACT trial has 465 adolescents who took part in psychotherapy for depression. Here we were able to show that latent groups formed based on their depressive symptoms. And you can see that the majority of participants' depression symptoms declined both during treatment and in the over a year follow-up. Now, depression and substance use can co-occur. So we wondered whether in this sample of young people with depression, how their substance use might change. So we asked young people how often had they smoked tobacco, gotten drunk, or used drugs throughout the trial. And we found that different people reported different substances being used. We found that each substance was best modeled with 4 classes. Within each substance, each class shows significant change both during and following treatment. Post-treatment change across all classes was significantly different. During treatment, those who started high or low generally changed in the same way. And there's some deviations to this and differences across substances, but I won't go into this now. In all substances, the class with the most people is the low substance use class, but this was the case far more for illegal drug use than the other substances. And the high substance use class was the biggest for smoking compared with drunkenness and illegal drug use. The high declining and low increasing classes had comparable rates across the samples. We wondered what the impact of high substance use at the end of the trial might be. The low increasing drunkenness class had higher depressive symptoms in the last wave compared to the low substance use class. And the low increasing class had 3-fold odds of non-suicidal self-injury, 2-fold odds of suicidal ideation, and 6- and 5-fold odds of suicide attempts compared with the low substance use class. And these outcomes were all for the last wave. Now you see there's a slightly different patterning of these associations depending on the substance. Many of these effects were also seen when the low increasing class was compared with the high declining class. And the high substance use class is comparable on outcomes to the low increasing class. However, when you compare this high class with those who had less substance use at the end of the trial, effects were only seen for non-suicidal self-injury. So the low increasing class has more obviously impaired outcomes. So what predicts the classes at the start of the trial? Well, those who start high on substance use versus those who start low on substance use, generally speaking, are older and have more antisocial behavior, lifetime suicide attempts, and non-suicidal self-injury. And this is consistent with prior work. What about the low increasing versus low substance use classes? When we looked across all these baseline factors, nothing discriminated them. However, we found that more lifetime drunkenness and smoking at the start of the trial predicted the low increasing illegal drug use class. And this is consistent with the gateway hypothesis that legal substance use often predicts illegal substance use for some people. How about the high declining versus high substance use class? This was predicted for drunkenness by age and for illegal substance use by age and lifetime non-suicidal self-injury at the start of the trial. In conclusion, successful treatment for depression may be ineffective at reducing substance use. This is particularly problematic for those who start with low substance use that increases during treatment and follow-up. There are those with high substance use throughout the treatment and follow-up that also have some problematic outcomes. Identifying these groups is tricky but could be done through substance use at the start of the trial and age. But we didn't assess other important factors like peer and family support, personality. In sum, these results support substance use evaluation, assessment and monitoring of depressed adolescents throughout treatment and the post-treatment period. Thank you.